Title: Genesis 22, 1-18, Covenant and Test. Content: 22, 1-18. Covenant and Test. 1. Abraham's Covenant and Tests. 1-2. God tested Abraham. It is a test to offer your son Isaac as a burnt offering. 2. This is the premise that God had no intention of accepting Isaac as a burnt offering from the beginning. The exam is after class. Abraham's test is the same. So, the text begins with after that. Day and connects with the preceding events, and is the story of the end of Abraham's life. What, then, did Abraham teach from God? The content of God's teaching is the Abrahamic covenant, Genesis 12, 2-3. This covenant is so important that it is repeated again and again in Genesis 18, 18, 22, 17-18, 26, 3-4, 28, 14-15. This covenant is central to the entire Bible. Then, what is the content of this covenant? As promised, he finally got Isaac. The covenant began to be fulfilled with him. The promise was to offer Isaac as a burnt offering, the fulfillment of the covenant. It does not match the contents of the covenant. It is the opposite of the covenant. This was the problem given to Abraham. 2. Our covenant and test. Like Abraham, we have God's covenant. I learned more than Abraham. Our covenant is a new covenant that includes the Abrahamic covenant, the Mosaic covenant, and the Davidic covenant. What is the new covenant? Gospel. In one word, the gospel is eternal life and blessings, corporation. The new covenant has already been fulfilled for us, is being fulfilled, and will be fulfilled. I hope you believe it. However, our reality is different from the new covenant. We who have the new covenant are being tested like Abraham. 3. Abraham's faith and answer. 3-18. How does Abraham view this test? Do you see with your physical eyes? Or do you see it through the eyes of faith in the covenant? He is responding with faith in the covenant. Obey immediately. 3. They believed in the power of God for the covenant. So he tells his servants, we will worship and we will come back to you. 5. They believed in God's faithfulness to the covenant. So, the answer to Isaac's question, 7, is Elohim, God, 7 weeks, 8. By faith in the covenant, he passed the test, 11-12. God answered his faith. A ram is prepared in place of Isaac, 14. The Abrahamic covenant is again sworn, 16-18. In particular, he was so moved by the great love and grace of God who had provided a ram in place of Isaac, he named the mountain Jehovah-Jireh. He came to know that he was no longer a fearful God, Elohim, but a good God, Jehovah, who showed love, mercy, and mercy. 4. Our beliefs and responses.